Oi, you know what time it is? You're tuned in listening to Dry That Aussie Metal Guy. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his content when it drops. And remember, stay brutal, you mad dogs. Roof!
G'day, how you all going? It's Jai, that Aussie metal guy here with crank.com, with thatmetalstation.com, and also with the bloody legends with Jai and my absent co-host at the moment, Jim. And we've got the Oxeneers. Cheers, guys, for joining me.
Hello.
So we have all three of you in there, Cam, Kyle, and Malcolm. Malcolm on bass, Kyle on guitar, and Cam on drums. First off, guys, for the uninitiated, how would you describe the sound and style of the Oxeneers?
Oh man, the worst question, because it's like there's so many different things that we pull from, But I guess if you had to put it down, you'd say like stoner doom metal adjacent, post metal. You put us in that kind of.
Scott,
yeah.
I'd say there's like times we go in the shoegaze. I mean, a
lot of pedal action.
Yeah. There's a lot of all sorts of goofiness.
A lot of staring at the floor. A lot of fuzz.
I see why you're hesitant too, because it's an instrumental band, and like you go put these labels on it, and it has all these different moments in there where it can be kind of funky, jazz, your metal, whatever, and you can just kind of throw it all at the fucking wall and go, okay, and that's doom, stoner, fuzz. But for me, music like this, I love sitting there and just zoning out. Sometimes I don't want to hear vocals. I don't need to hear the singing. I just want to get lost in the music and have these kind of soundscapes kind of thrown at me through the instruments and these stories where I can kind of zone out, you know what I mean? Have a bowl and just kind of get lost in my thoughts and lost in the music as well.
Most definitely. That's how we write, basically. I mean, we all meet up after work on Sundays, and we just kind of just go at just randomly, like, we'll just start working on something, noodling on something. He'll come up with something, or Malcolm will, or I will, and we just we spend a lot of time on it, and it just kind of goes from there. And we have so many songs in the back catalog, or like parts that were like, oh man,
become songs.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of scratch tracks.
Yeah, we got gigs of music sitting around that we've done it like once or twice, and
probably
never come back sick. and then it's like, oh, it's gone.
And the next practice, like, we forget about it because we start working on something else, or we start practicing like one of our current songs, and then there we go.
Yeah, something better comes along, man. It's just in the back burner and then never comes back.
Will they see a future? Maybe. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, it must be fun just getting in that gig room there and kind of just fucking jamming out, not having these constraints on style or vocals, you know what I mean? And just kind of going with it. It seems like I had to jump over and grab a couple of the albums as well over on Bandcamp there as well, from here to there. I think that was the first one. Like, tell us a little bit about kind of that album, man.
So the first album.
Yeah. Oh, From Here to There,
man. Yeah.
COVID.
That was written like post-COVID. Yeah. Literally, like, as soon as everything opened up, we got down in here and started writing music.
Well, not everything was opened up yet.
Well, I mean, we had to go back to work. That's what happened.
Yeah.
We're like, oh well, if they're forcing us back to work, I guess we'll play. So we started doing that as kind of like an outlet, and we were originally trying to do something else.
We originally started as a 4-piece.
Yeah,
we were gonna go for like, I'd say like the mid 2000s,
kind of Queens of Stone Age kind of thing. It was still very fuzzy. It was still very like, yeah. Still kind of had that swagger to it, kind of thing. And then we were like, the drummer played out.
Ironically,
we were like, "Look, can you want to play drums?"
Ironically, I started as the vocalist in the band because Malcolm and I had a band years ago. We were teenagers together, and he was the guitarist, and I was the vocalist in that. And so that's kind of how we were going to go with this one. And then I just said our drummer kind of, disappeared. And we were like, fuck it, let's go. And I went behind the kit, and I've been there ever since.
And that was like, I think
your dad's the reason we really got to get.
Well, yeah, I mean,
He came in and he gave me a blast of shit about not playing music anymore. I was in a band previously, was an instrumental band as well for like 7 years, and then we broke up and I didn't play music for 3 years. I was just like, I'm done, I'm not coming back. And then like his dad just was like, why not? I'm like,
And that was kind of the thing. It was like, you know, we're in Pennsylvania in the United States, so we were locked up until not locked up, that's not fair to say, but you know, we weren't allowed to work until like June.
Oh, I mean,
it was like March, April, May.
So like we had like 3 months, and I was by myself, and I always used to record. I was recording music when I was younger, and I wasn't really taking it seriously, and then had a whole bunch of time. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna get back into it, and I bought a bunch of stuff.
Government gave us money.
Yeah. Gambling with the dealer's money, and you know, I started recording stuff, and then I was like, all right, we're gonna start doing this together, and every time we played, I recorded it, and it started to sound better. We started to sound more like a band, and like I think the first 3 songs we had written in like 2 days. It was kind of like we started writing, and it like clicked right away. Like before, what we were doing with the other drummer, it was like we had a couple things, but it wasn't really like there wasn't a vibe. There wasn't a vibe that was happening, and then
just felt like studio musicians.
Well, but not even that. Like it wasn't even like it was just we weren't clicking, so it just didn't work. And then Cam started playing drums, and we just started, you know, pretty much shitting out music.
Ramry was the
it was the first thing we did.
First song that we had actually completed and done,
and that was one day we did it.
Ramry.
That's like an 9 minute song.
Yeah, 8 minutes 35. I've got it right up here now. Looking at it, I had that actually cranking this morning. I got up at some stupid ass time, like 4 a.m. The house is quiet. Put on the headphones, had a coffee, had a bowl, man, and like just kind of zoned out, playing a little bit of Diablo to it, man. It was
Nice.
it's got a really killer fucking vibe to it. And as I mentioned, it's something that you can kind of. That's what I love about some of this doom and fuzz stuff. Like they call it metal, but anybody can listen to it. Like literally, if you love music, you can sit there and kind of get lost in it. And you really do got to give bands like yourselves like an effort. Like if you go, oh well, that's doom metal or fuzz metal, like please just give it a fucking go. If you love music, like I totally got lost in these recordings as well. What was it like when you guys like finally started coming out of lockdown there, and you said shit was all locked up for a bit and started opening up, started playing a little bit of shows? What was it like those first few shows and starting to get into it?
I think it took us a year, right?
It took about a year.
It took a year until we played our first one.
Yeah,
and that was like an outdoor picnic pavilion thing where they were doing like a all day.
Because we still had some restrictions for like
there was still like the mask thing, and then like you know you still had to stay like bars, 6 feet away.
Bars couldn't have more than like 25% capacity or something. So like there wasn't any music really going on, and then I guess it was 2021 was our first show.
Yeah, that was the outdoor one.
Yeah, it was outside. And it was outside, so you know,
hot as shit.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of those outdoor gigs, like popping up over there in the US as well, like kind of to get around those restrictions. And I've seen some even bigger ones where they had little areas cordoned off when you can sit in your little fucking square.
I mean, after the first outdoor show, we got to play in the brewing basement area of one of the local breweries here in town, and there was a handful of people there.
That was the best experience.
But that was pretty fun
because that was actually like a metal show,
and it was like the first one.
It was in a basement of a brewery, which is like just like
it was
all
like blue.
Like a dungeon,
all the lights were
awesome.
Blue.
They had a full bar down there.
It
felt like a great small like basement venue.
And was it our first show that we got the cops called on us?
Yeah, we played 3 songs.
No, I calculated it last night. I think we got through like 6 songs, and then the cops showed up, and it was really funny because they were like, "These guys sound really good, and we don't want to like shut them off, but it's after curfew," and we're like,
they let us finish the one song we were in.
Yeah, so I mean that was at least cool, and
But yeah, our area. So we live kind of like. So you got Pennsylvania and you have Pittsburgh on one side, and you have Philadelphia on the other side, and we're like smack dab in the middle, almost into Maryland.
And then you got Baltimore and DC that are like less than 2 hours away.
Where there's nothing. There's no local scene anymore. There used to be almost 15 years ago, and that was what I've been in a couple other bands. A band called Judges. Not Judge, but we were a hardcore band. But it was in a band called Judges, and we
judged a lot.
We did a bunch of DIY touring and stuff, and our hub was this area. It's about a 30-mile radius of. There's a bunch of churches that were just kind of letting whoever show up and play, which was really cool. Like, it doesn't always happen very often, especially in our area, which is very conservative. They're not always super open to ungodly bands playing, but it was a cool time, and all that stuff's gone. So like, the only thing we have are breweries with no nothing to really play on. There's no stages, there's none of that stuff. They're just not designed to have bands, so we can't really play out in our local area. We got to go at least an hour away.
Acoustical and like small 3-piece
a lot of
stuff, bluegrass.
Yeah,
stuff,
like a lot of the area, they're really focused on like people that like singer songwriters and bluegrass, like they're saying bluegrass type stuff, but it's everybody that covers the same exact songs that everybody else does, and we're like, we understand it's our area, but we're like, come on.
Is it a smaller like country area? Because I have the same fucking problem here. There's no metal bands in my area. I'm about 3 hours from my closest city, which is Adelaide. It's about 300 Ks. Unless you can go and press play on your deck and sit back, or you can go play somebody else's music, then a lot of these venues don't fucking put you on. And especially through COVID, I know a lot of venues shut down, so it's been hard to kind of fill that spot where these venues have kind of shut down through COVID. And especially, it makes it so much more important now that to support your local shows, to get along to these gigs, even at the brewery shows, get along to these gigs, to start creating a live, thriving scene in your area. And as much as the bands like yourselves can go to these shows and keep playing, kicking out the jams and pumping as hard as you want, you still need the people to get along to these shows, and not just to these $200, $300 big headliners that come for their big fucking stadium tours. You can go see 30 bands in your local area for those $300, and trust me, you're going to have a great time, and you're going to meet some amazing people as well doing it. I had this conversation the other day, and I've seen it popping up at the moment. All these big headliners coming over and doing these big fucking tours. And like, I'm not having a dig at them. I'm just going, the price of these fucking tickets, you think people rush along, grab them. And I'm like, think about your local scene as well. How many tickets you could be buying to local shows supporting your scene.
You
like
see a show every night,
Yeah.
$300, you can go to a show every night.
Yeah, I really wanted to go to that Mastodon Gojira tour, but man, that was incredibly pricey tickets.
It was, but
they were like $100 a pop or something like that.
I'm super conflicted over it, because especially bands of that level, like, they deserve to be paid that.
Yep.
But it's almost like
he was a little guy at that point.
Yeah, but it's almost like because that market's moving so much higher up that people are forgetting that cheaper options exist.
You can do both.
Yeah, but they just forget that it's there.
Yeah.
They're like, oh well, a show's $200, and then when you're like, oh, here comes come to this $10 show, they're thinking money value, and they're like, oh well, it's not going to be that good. It's just $10.
Oh, bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, that's not necessarily true.
Like, instead of constantly putting like two powerhouse bands or whatever on like a tour or like that, like, they should be allowed to like bring in some of like the local guys, or like some of the like smaller starting out guys should be able to, start out and opening up for like these bigger bands. Like, it shouldn't just be like these three giant ass bands and like another giant ass band that's the fourth opener,
Yep.
But that's kind of what festivals are.
But speaking of giant ass bands, King Parrot from Australia have just been, they're going to play 5 shows with Pantera. The last 5 shows with Pantera on their run of tour. They're an Aussie band. I've seen them for like fuck all, here in Australia. I had a great show. I think it was with deformity or something like that, dude. And it was just fucking absolutely bloody ripper. I'm not saying like these shows can be absolutely amazing as well. You know what I mean? All I'm saying is get along to the little guys, support them as well, support your local scene, and just support what's happening in your area as well. Tell us about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 releases, man. I love it. That was so easy for me, dude. I tell you what, I'm like, fuck yeah.
We had kind of like
We stole the idea.
we had kind of we
we
had
stole
kind
the
of
idea from the Bronx. Sorry.
well we had stole the idea kind of from the Bronx and Poison the Well.
Yeah.
Because like Poison the Well, right after they did Tropic Rot,
Right.
their
The
B-sides were like 1/6 and 2/4 and but I was just like sitting there, I was like, that would be kind of cool, but like let's just do it 2 songs and A B is or 1, 2, 3, 4 is just something completely different. And
I think a lot of it was that I didn't, and I'm kind of feeling it right now. Is that like I wanted to make sure that we could continue to put stuff out because that's how the market works now, right? Like you got to put out singles, and then after 6, put out the rest of the album and you're good, right? Like so I think part of it was that like we were writing music, we were putting out, we were making really good songs, and we were like we want to wait and like do it all at once and do it at like the end of the year, because this was like the beginning of 2021 that we started doing those things, or actually I guess midway through something like that.
It was like
September or something.
We put it out pretty far.
Yeah. They ended up being like a couple months apart or whatever. But we just wanted to keep putting stuff out instead of like waiting the whole time. And now we want to do a big album right now, and I'm kind of feeling the squeeze of like
People want new stuff.
We want to put stuff out.
We don't want to just dump it all out there. We want to like actually put together
a whole thing. So it was like the EPs were more of like
those were definitely us experimenting with different styles.
And it was like
they were also, I'd say, like not only was it us experimenting, but like it's also showing progress. Of
progress of songwriting and in my mixing skills as well. I record, mix, and master everything.
Yeah, everything's done by him.
So,
right here.
Yeah, literally
right here.
All of our stuff is in here. Like,
Well, how much easier is that being able to do that from home and?
It's really awesome. There's also a lot
of work.
There's a lot of work. But I mean, we leave our stuff set up, so it's like I can press a button, and we're recording, and every one of our demos sounds like a record. So it makes it gives us a better idea of where stuff is going and how it's gonna feel like oh, this is what a product would be at the end. It's gonna sound kind of similar to this. And it allows us to experiment with different sounds and stuff. And like if we write something and we're like, oh, that's pretty good, but then we're like, well, what if we did this? We can just chop it up and move it around instead of like just going up and trying to play it again and trying to remember it. We can, noise ordinance is everything. We can go a little bit later if we want to, just by chopping everything up and moving it around. It's really cool, and I'm extremely nerdy, so it like the whole act of doing everything is like one of my favorite things to do. So it's really nice and rewarding in that aspect, and it's also really cheap because they don't pay me. So.
Well, it keeps you being able to release music and keep these coming, because if you had to fucking keep doing it the way you're doing, paying a few $1,000s to get someone to do it, it's just not viable, because you just got jobs, and the way the scene is, people think just streaming something on Spotify is fucking supporting the band, but it's like a little fucking
definitely not
drip in the fucking well. It's like it's a nothing. So to be able to cut those costs down and have that working from home and be a little bit more independent can only help the band in the long run. That's for sure.
Yeah. Everything goes into all the show money goes into the band fund, and we've been able to do a lot with that actually. Like the merch.
We just bought a trailer.
It comes back. It's the whole fucking everything comes back to this live. As we was saying, getting along, and as I was saying, getting along to these shows is so fucking important. Not just because the numbers, but supporting the scene. And for bands like yourself to have that interaction with the people that are going to hear the music. And sometimes guys will go along, guys, girls, people go along to see other bands there, and then they hear the Oxeneers and they're like, fuck, I really dug that. Go over and buy an album or a shirt, and then go back and tell 10 of their fucking mates, suss this shit out, listen to this. And that's how the scene keeps going and thriving. So I do push the support side of things a lot, but that's the only way we can keep this scene fucking going.
Yeah, like we have stickers that we like splatter everywhere. We have our music that a friend of ours did for his birthday that he made magic cards for us.
Oh yeah.
That have like tour band dance and all that shit. And like yeah, so like even like you leave in places, so like even if you play Magic, like you can still use our cards. And so like if you have like not in a tournament, but like if you're hanging out with your friends and be like, oh yeah, we'll try this one for session. Like, what the hell is that? We're like, well, it's a band card, but it's also a usable Magic card, you know. So, I mean, that's one creative way that we figured that would be.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of creativity, like the big thing is like being able to bring our friends who are doing other things. Like our buddy Dan Schumpin, he's into art and photography, and he's been doing a lot for us with that, taking pictures, doing different things. He did a video for us.
Yeah, we got
Eagle. He did a bunch of our gig posters, our boosters and artworks all in.
It's got a vibe and it's nice.
Yeah.
For the stuff,
And he's got that horror vibe too, and it's just
it's got that like.
you throw him an idea, and he's like, "All right," and then it comes back, and you're like, "All right, I was expecting something different, but that is fucking wild."
Yeah.
But yeah, then we got our friend Tyler who makes our shirts for us, and he's a hell of a guy. We've all known him for years too. So
another fellow musician who's very talented.
Yeah, nice. And I do got to
like how the community is.
I do got to mention this, guys. Fuzzfest.
Oh yes.
Yes, sir. August. That'll be technically our second time.
Yeah, we
We were part of the pre-show showcase last year.
Yeah, we played the opener last year, the night before, with our friends Waxbrain, who John runs.
Yeah,
He runs
on
Fuzzfest.
Fuzzfest. Yeah.
Yep.
So we got to we played the opening night last year. So this year we get to play the festival. So
Awesome. Must be excited then.
fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, dude, they got live wrestling. Like,
I know.
there, dude.
Live wrestling, real shoot wrestling, stand up presented by Red Eye Comedy. You got some burlesque shows, the acoustic sets at the Deckers Creek Yacht Club from Tucker Riggleman, Kelsey, and the others. Yeah, pretty cool there, man. I did share the post. I will share it when I do publish this as well. Must be good to get along to a festival like that because you got all those great bands as well, but just for the reasons I kind of mentioned as well just before this, where people come along to this festival and then you get a chance to be able to kind of finally get out and fucking these breweries there and kind of play on the stage. Nothing wrong with the breweries. There's fucking some good breweries.
No,
nothing wrong with that, bro. But I just,
Nah,
it must be good to get out there and play this Fuzzfest as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's fun to get to like the bigger section.
Well, and
like the breweries, I feel like are the stepping stone from like where you used to play like churches. Now you
Church
play
annexes.
breweries.
Yeah.
Well, brewery is a church, more or less.
Yeah. I mean, you have lots of spiritual experience there for sure. But Fuzzfest is
My
cool
sits
'cause
were
it's
healed.
it's a whole like town festival. So it's like it's not like you go to a bunch of different venues. There's a bunch of different it encourages you to walk around and experience not only music but like the culture of the city and everything. And that's it's an old coal mining town, so you get to see all of the old infrastructure that they used to use for coal that they've repurposed for the people to use and like how they're repurposing all those spaces. And it's got that it's got that old Rust Belt look to it of like it's falling apart, but like it's not actually gonna fall apart, but it looks like any moment it could. And it has the right it's the right place for a festival like that,
I mean,
like where it's like, yeah,
1, 2, 3
everything's falling
Pleasant's a
apart, but
pretty
it's
big
all together.
venue too. I mean,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
comes to a lot of bands like
Oh, yeah.
Mastodon played there.
Oh yeah,
all types of,
one,
like,
2, 3 is
that's
Shit, Black
it's
Joe
like
Lewis and the
historic.
Honey Bears were just down there, and I was really pissed I couldn't go to that show.
Yeah, there's some great. You got
Back
Maryland
door.
Doom Fest, which isn't far away as well. That's
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
up in July, and there's
yeah.
so many great doom, fuzz, stoner metal bands coming out of that fucking area as well. I know, as you said, in that town you're in, it's a little hard to get the local shows going, but in that area in general, it just seems to be overwhelming talent of, you know, as I said, doom, fuzz, stoner bands as well.
I think it's the blue collar like ethos of the area, and then like it's like readily access to really good. It just really encourages people, like, because you're in these places, you live in a house that like you don't see anyone for 10 miles around you, so it's like, oh, just get a couple friends, we're gonna smoke a lot of weed, we're gonna tune the guitars down, and we're just gonna see what happens, kind of thing. Like it just seems like it's just that kind of thing that happens in areas like this, of where people that aren't part of the normal like music community in the area, they slow everything down, and they're just about hanging out and doing what they can with what they got.
Yep.
It turns into this wonderful expressive music that
Also, Clutch is from Frederick.
Clutch is from our area too.
Yep.
Yeah, Clutch. Obviously CKY. I mean, people, they're a bit of a mean band, but like they're a fuzzy kind of, it's like a blues band, but they talk about butts and stuff.
Yeah, well, there's I've spoken to Jim. He said there's, like, from what the stories he said, there's a fair bit of history in the area as well, and I think some stories as well, and that kind of must play into kind of the songwriting and the music and the ethos with the doom, the stoner. Yeah.
You got all the stoner war, or the stoner wars,
The Stoner Wars,
the
yeah.
Civil War stuff.
Fuck yeah.
The Stoner Wars.
Yeah,
no
like,
one
I
was
mean-
left after the Stoner Wars.
No one's doing
like you said,
anything.
like he said, like during the Civil War, our town was burned down by the Confederates' march to Gettysburg.
And
So
like,
Yep.
West Virginia's got Mothman.
Yep.
We have
what else? Do
what's
we
her
have?
what's her name? What's the wailing lady?
The White Lady.
The White Lady.
The White Lady of Pond Bank.
Yeah. We got White Lady of Pond Bank. That's a local cryptid. We have.
And then Gettysburg. Like Gettysburg
Gettysburg is
itself
full of
is-
cryptids. Yeah.
is-
The entire town.
Yeah, the entire town's it's cool, but it's fucking creepy. 'Cause-
Yeah.
especially at nighttime, because you're just like, there's shit that happened here.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, it's crazy. Like
Uh,
where we come,
Yeah,
like
you
where we're
go
at.
out into the woods, you hear like a mountain lion screech, and it sounds like someone being murdered. They're just terrified.
Even in
beasts.
suburbia,
Like,
I can tell you by
like
where I live,
coyotes.
I've heard
We got
coyotes,
and
I live in a suburb.
Yes.
Suburban part of town.
See, and you're worried about the spiders and snakes over here in Australia, man. Don't fucking worry about that.
we got mountain lions, we got bears.
Yeah, I know.
Packs of coyotes.
Exactly, like you said, mountain lions and bears. That's where you got snakes and spiders or bears, man. Like, fuck it. Our bears like hanging trees and they're like kind of cuddly and shit, but
they look cuddly,
but they're sharp claws.
Yeah.
And interesting fact, a lot of koalas have chlamydia. Thanks, Bedtime Magic, a band out of Boston, give me that fact. Yeah, it was actually a band out of the US, Bedtime Magic, that actually give me that fact. I was interviewing them and they're like, what's this about koalas having chlamydia? And I'm like, I had to Google it. I'm like, no shit.
It's like, I'm trying to remember if they. See, I watched Koala Man. I don't know if you watched that at all. I'm going to reference that. That show. I'm trying to think if he referenced about the chlamydia. I don't think he did.
I do know one other fact to know about koalas is that the young have to eat the mother's shit because eucalyptus leaves are so poisonous that it would literally just kill them. So
Yep.
they have to slowly introduce themselves to the poison. So they have to eat their mother's shit because she
Metaphor for life, where someone's eating somebody's shit somewhere, that's for sure. Hey, Where's the best place people can head along and support Oxeneers, guys?
Well, we have Facebook,
We have Spotify, accounts,
Instagram. We're on
Bandcamp.
You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Bandcamp. All the usuals. I mean, I guess
Bandcamp, I would say, is probably like
it's the best place. Bandcamp. Everyone uses it. There's a reason, because in the sea of corporate outlets that we have to put our music through, that's one. So it's the one that everyone uses, and it has all their music up on it. We honestly work sometimes free.
I believe it is for free right now.
I think it
never
might
said
be
it
right
back- I
now,
never said
or
it
it's yeah.
So right now, some of our music is free.
Yeah.
All of it.
It's
I don't
So you can put Instagram is probably the thing we post the most on.
Yep.
Connected with Facebook, obviously, but they just post at the same time.
Yeah, we just kind of
But
share
yeah,
the same information.
Instagram, it's Oxeneers 1, right? Oxeneers 1 on Instagram. It's just
I
at
imagine you
Oxeneers.
pull up
just-
Oxeneers.
yeah,
it's
yeah.
gonna pull
I think it's Oxeneers band.
And we're banned or one of those two. You'll find us.
Yeah, you'll find 'em.
We got a logo. Yeah.
Exactly. You can also find them at Fuzzfest coming up in August as well. Get over to the guys, buy a heap of merch, say g'day. This has been an absolute pleasure. We will have a chat again next time. We'll get Jim on. Jim, I know you're going to watch this, mate. Do you have any last
Same
words?
probably.
I know he's already sent me a message. He's like, I'm so fucking sorry. He's enjoying his holiday.
last
Go
one-
enjoy your holiday, Jim. It's all good.
And, we'd like to say thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to chat. We love it. Like, we love Malcolm and I love Australia. We're big King Giz fans.
King Gizzard,
So-
Mighty Car
We lost the
Mods,
sea.
And we lost the
We
the sea. But yeah, like, this is amazing, and thank you guys so much for giving us a
absolutely.
listen. We hope you enjoyed. We hope you keep on rocking with us, because
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, thank you,
couldn't-
Jim.
you couldn't make it, but
Jim.
thank you,
And
Jim.
Jai.
If
Thank
it
you.
wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here. He couldn't even be here to be a part
Right.
of it.
It's all right. It's all
But-
right.
Legend,
this is
guys.
amazing. Yeah,
Cheers,
this is
mate.
amazing.
All
Cheers.
right,
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
mate.
you.
Oi, you're tuned in to Jai, that Aussie metal guy, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his sick content. And remember, stay brutal, you legend.